big part of this job is seeing who's hurting and what we can do about it. I just learned the state better, and I mean, today was fun because I got to see sort of the handiwork of I pushed Obama really hard on the Chinese tires thing. I mean, I talked to him at Labor Day in Cincinnati. I talked to his chief of staff. I talked to 2 other people around him. I called the vice president. I said, the law is clear on this. You got to do this. And Obama finally said, he said, the law is clear. Whether we can do remedy isn't clear, and he did. He did it right. Cooper wasn't wild about this decision because Cooper had so many interests in China by now or overseas. So they weren't joining with the. I mean, these companies, the big company, the small, you can bet the Cooper suppliers that are in Western Ohio were thrilled with the decision because the suppliers can't follow the GM suppliers can't follow their company to the tier 1 maybe, but the tier 2 and 3 can't follow them to Mexico. When Ford or GM goes there. So they lose 30% of their business when a plant closes. If the election is a referendum on who's in power, 2 questions. If it's a referendum on, are you happy with your life and the direction the country's going and your community's going? And if the answer is no, which it is for most people, if the election is then vote against the party in office, Democrats get creamed. If the election is, do you want to put John Kasich, Rob Portman, and Mike DeWine back in? Do you want to trust them again after they and their philosophy got us into this situation? Or do you want to look at what Strickland and Obama are trying to do with the economy turning around, not nearly the direction, not nearly at the speed at which any of us wanted? Then it's a very different election. I mean, the budget's so out of balance until Obama's made it bigger because I think you have to. When the economy's this bad, you got to stimulate. One of the things that disturbs me as much as maybe more than the budget deficit is the infrastructure deficit. You look at what water. I know there are stimulus dollars for Fostoria, for Findlay, for Macomb, for other areas around here. I don't remember other places, but certainly in many communities in Ohio got significant help on the stimulus package, which means 2 things. 1, people going to work in building infrastructure, and 2, means that water bills won't go up as much for local. I hear people like John Boehner say, we can't extend unemployment because you didn't pay for it, but they are willing to do tax cuts for people making $3 million a year and not pay for it. I mean, I don't get it. It's like they're against the budget deficit except when they're not, and they certainly weren't in the Bush years, and now they're against the budget deficit again, except they don't want to pay for the war, either war. They don't want to pay for the tax cuts. I mean, it's what we spent the last several days on around the state and over the last couple of weeks, and I'll do next week, is mostly concentrated on manufacturing and in the decline and what we need to do about it. If you look back 30 years, a third of our GDP in this country 30 years ago was manufacturing, 11% was financial services. And that's almost reversed. It's now down to about 12% of GDP is manufacturing, about 25% is financial services. And you see where that got us as a country. I mean, it meant declining standard of living for a lot of people in the middle class who had depended on manufacturing. And it meant a few people do really, really well in financial services. I mean, more than a few, but percentage-wise a few. And it meant our economy was hollower and more unstable and riskier as a result of the sort of implicit assistance, if you will, to financial services at the expense of manufacturing. The top 5 or 6 in auto, chemical, aluminum, cement, paper, steel, and glass. I mean, we are the number 3 manufacturing state behind states that are twice or 3 times our size, Texas and California. And we still lead the nation. Perhaps more than any other state, we're a manufacturing state. And all these industries are prominent and less prominent than they were. We don't have a strong middle class in this country if we don't make things, and no state knows how to make things better than we do.